Hi everyone, it's Don. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, I was watching some interviews lately on the people who are doing the actual experiments on mixing and matching vaccines. So if you got an AstraZeneca dose and they gave you a Pfizer second dose and their reactions, because Canada, a lot of our provinces have stopped giving the first dose completely and are talking about mixing and matching instead of giving your second dose of AstraZeneca. And boy, do the people who are actually doing the research have some pretty scathing comments about the Canadian scientists and medical people making decisions. So I was watching an interview with the person actually conducting the experiment of mixing and matching the AstraZeneca with Pfizer. Because here in Canada, all you hear is, oh, really good signs from this study. 800 people over the age of 80. They had really even more immune response by mixing and matching, and it's really good. We think that's what we're going to do instead of getting your second dose. Don't worry about it if you're nervous about getting the second dose, because look, this might be even better. And then we listen to some of the comments coming from the actual person doing it, and I'm going to point out some really kind of scathing remarks about our Canadian health officials here in Canada making their announcements, or even maybe not even the health professionals, but it is NACI, the National Institute for Immunization. It is our health professionals and the government who are making those decisions as well, and our government politicians. So let's listen to the beginning of the conversation on CTV News.
The incidence of these rare events, they are very, very rare. The Indian strain has now arrived in the UK. It will arrive in Canada if it hasn't already, probably already has. And at my last look, you guys are 3.6% vaccinated with 2 doses. So just wait for that one to rip through the Canadian population. And then the problems you've had with these very rare clotting events will look pretty insignificant next to that.
So yeah. He's saying if the Indian variant hits here in Canada, which we know it's already here in Canada and starts to spread, we may just be overrun again and into a fourth wave here in Canada because of our low vaccine rate. Although we're getting better. In Ontario, I think we're at 50% first dose, but now we paused AstraZeneca. So that's going to slow down the vaccine rate one more time. So he's not very impressed right now with, he's saying that you should just go ahead and get vaccinated because the response is so small. Now remember, here in Canada, we've only handed out, I think, 2 million doses of AstraZeneca. In the UK, they've handed out 20-some million. So their studies are much more relevant than our study sample size. So let's see what else they had to say.
There's a lot of talk about Canadians who say, I don't want my second dose of this now. I'm going to wait. There's a study in the UK, and we keep hearing from public health officials that there's positive signals about mixing and matching. So if you're worried about AstraZeneca, don't worry about it. Your next shot, we're going to be flooded with Pfizer and Moderna. You can mix and match and take your second shot of Pfizer and Moderna. So we may not need all the 20 million AstraZeneca doses that we've ordered. What's your response to that?
So there, he's saying right there, you hear it, the Canadian health officials, and they are saying, don't worry about it. It looks like it's really good, right? This is, getting that second dose of Pfizer, it could even be better, guys. It could even be better than what's going on. I mean, we have an entire sample out of the, let's see, over 40 million doses handed out across the world. They have a sample size of 800. And so we're starting to make our comments now on a study of 800 people instead of waiting for the entire science to come in. And that's kind of the problem here in Canada. So many mixed messages on vaccines, and they're wondering why there's hesitancy now, why people are trying to pick and choose their vaccines they get. Really our messaging here in Canada has been atrocious. So let's find out what else they had to say.
Well, I think that reflects the whole Canadian approach to vaccines generally, and that is acting on a lot of hearsay, not facts.
Wow. The lead scientist at Oxford University, Sir John Bell, is saying that Canadian approach to the vaccines and everything has been reacting on hearsay and not facts. That's the first scathing report, I think. That's pretty solid.
So we're doing the heterologous boosting experiment here in Oxford, 800 people in an arm, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, AstraZeneca, Pfizer. And our experience to date is that it produces pretty severe reactogenicity, so severe that we don't think that's going to be viable. And by that, I mean, you get your second dose, if you flip it over, you'll get really sick. So I would not advise that. And the second dose of AstraZeneca, which we've now put in to many, many millions of people who had a first dose of AstraZeneca, we're not sure we can even find a single case of clotting problems. So, bad idea. This needs to be data-driven.
Okay.
Bad idea. So here in Canada, we're telling everybody, it looks wonderful. Yes, you might have a little more symptoms, but there's no signs of clotting and the immune factors are good and everything. He's saying it's severe. He's saying you get severe reactions to your second dose. You're much sicker than you are when you get a second dose of the same vaccine. He's the one doing the studies. I think I trust his opinion a little more than somebody who's just reading data points and says, "Oh, look, these people got sick for 3 days and everything, but no one died from it, so it must be okay." This way, we don't have to worry about the 1 in 1 million people who come down with a blood clot, but the blood clot is in 1 in 600,000 people anyway, whether you get a vaccine or not. So yeah, it's hard to understand how we cannot just come up with one mindset, right? And I think some of the problems here in Canada is we're not doing any of our own studies. We're copying other people's studies. We're not studying our own people here in Canada. We're not doing anything like that. We're going off of other people's data and coming to our own conclusions instead of actually conducting the research ourselves and coming up with our answers. So we're going off of pieces of paper instead of actually being there doing the study. So.
Hey, this is really interesting because a lot of people are investing a lot of hope in this, that soon that our health officials are going to say, mixing and matching is possible. And we've also heard it may even be better. 1 shot of AstraZeneca, 1 shot of Pfizer. You're doing the testing. I just want people to understand, you're saying as someone who's looking at that, it would be, if you're one of the 2 million Canadians who got AstraZeneca, you're saying take the second dose?
Much better to take the second dose. Much better to take the second dose. The only reason to think about heterologous boosting, and to be clear, we don't have all the immunogenicity, all the antibody data from those studies because they're big. We're doing them in 800 people each. So it takes a while to get them done. But at the moment, I don't think we would be jumping up and down enthusiastically because the reactogenicity, the effect you have with the second dose, either way you flip it, is pretty severe. And not only that, but you shouldn't, with a second dose of AstraZeneca, you shouldn't need a Pfizer dose. Your antigen reactivity levels will be super high. You'll be fine against all the standard variants. And if you have a third dose of AstraZeneca, your antibody levels go even higher, much higher than they do with Pfizer. So, and you don't get any clotting problems that we see after you've had the first dose. So, come on, guys. Either do the experiments yourself or listen to people who do them.
Dr. Bell, I can see that.
Wow. Come on, guys. Come on, Canada. Either do the research yourself or actually listen to the people who are doing it. That's a pretty scathing comment on the people making health decisions here in Canada. And that's pretty scary. Now, this is just one person, and he could be completely biased and completely out to lunch. But one thing you cannot dismiss is he's actually doing the experiment. He's actually doing the testing. He sees firsthand the data, the reaction, the medical comments from the scientists, the medical comments from the doctors, the medical comments from the patients, and the reactions. We see some pieces of paper saying this was the immune response, and the sickness afterwards was mild to medium instead of mild. And that's what we're basing our decision on. Again, I have to go back to Canada has mishandled the vaccine rollout from day one, and we send so many mixed messages, especially on this AstraZeneca vaccine. So many mixed messages. No wonder people are confused. No wonder people are trying to shop for their perfect vaccine. No wonder the lockdowns and everything in Canada are still happening. No wonder every other country that started vaccinating at the same time we are, that are on our, what we would call wealthy nation status, the UK, United States, are way far above us. They're reopening everywhere. And here in Canada, we're continuing to lock down and even asking for more border restrictions, cutting out flights, no travel between our own provinces, curfews that you can't go out after 8 o'clock at night, businesses shut down, and mixed messages on vaccines, making people unsure what vaccine to take and even if it's safe. It has been completely mismanaged. Completely. And I really wish that the whole thing at the beginning, the federal government would have said, we will make the decisions on how to roll everything out, and every province follow our lead. Instead, they've gone individual provinces, so you have one province saying they're shutting down the AstraZeneca vaccine, another province saying they're going ahead with it. No wonder people are completely losing their minds and do not seem to be having any trust whatsoever right now in the professionals making decisions. Because if you can't be clear on your vaccine rollout, you definitely can't convince people that locking them in their houses after 8 o'clock at night is proper because you're handling things good, right? You cannot do that. It's absolutely hilarious in a sad, sad way, because the only people paying the price are the people not making the decisions. Because the people making the decisions, they've been working all this time and they are perfectly fine. In fact, they're probably making more money during the pandemic than they've ever made in their lives. Again, mixed messaging, once again, in Canada on vaccines. Is anybody surprised? Even the person doing the experiment says, come on, Canada. I mean, either do it yourself or at least listen to the people actually doing the experiments.